Stephen Edgington here from Westmonster, and I'm just standing outside an ERG meeting where they've talked about the Northern Ireland border issue and Brexit. Now, they claim there doesn't need to be any extra infrastructure in place, and this is a non-issue in the Brexit negotiations. You can see my question that I asked Jacob Rees-Mogg about the ERG being in chaos and letting down Brexit voters. And also, I'm just about to speak to Andrea Jenkins about her opinions on Brexit and Theresa May.
And what we're going to be doing today is putting forward ideas to solve the difficulty on the Irish border.
This paper sets out how it's possible to deliver that free trade agreement while still maintaining and ensuring that the border in Northern Ireland stays as open as it is today and the EU can protect the integrity of their single market.
We're told that the integrity of the single market and customs union is in peril because the problem of the Northern Ireland border cannot be resolved. The first point to make is there is a border today. There is a VAT and tax border. There is an excise duty border, there is a currency border, and very importantly, there is a security border. And that is all handled with current administrative and technical tools, without any major problems of implementation.
There is no point at which what is happening on Brexit and interferes with the Good Friday Agreement and its operation. And there is no serious threat, I think, from violence, because we have sorted that issue partly through the agreement itself, but also partly through the way in which our security forces, north and south, have been successful. So we're dealing with some sort of claims for which there is no real opposition.
March of this year, Donald Tusk said, we're very happy to have a free trade agreement. So yes, my view is no secret. My view is the best option is free trade plus, rather than call it Canada plus. So it would be originating a whole series of different free trade agreements that the union already has, and this would make that work. That is the point.
Stephen Edgington from Westmonster. So I've got two questions quickly. First of all, do you think Remainers are using this as a political football in the negotiations, the Northern Ireland border and the European Union, to just get concessions from the UK? And second of all, I've got a source that told me last night the ERG was in total chaos. Do you think that you have let down Brexiteers in this country because you have failed and failed and failed to get your point across? You've got Chequers agreement now. Don't you think that you've let down 17.4 million people who we're now in this situation with the Remainer Prime Minister and with Chequers?
Well, I'd better take that question as I'm the chairman of the ERG. And here we are. The ERG has a solution to problems. We have lots of important steps in this way. Yesterday, we had the answer as to why leaving on world trade terms would not be anything to be fearful of. Today, we have the answer that unlocks the Canada Plus free trade deal to Northern Ireland. The ERG has been plugging away consistently at putting the argument for the Brexit that 17.4 million people voted for. We're standing up for that, we're batting for that, and I think we model ourselves on Alistair Cook. We are still scoring centuries, even though we've been going for some time.
So Theresa Villiers, what do you think about the Northern Ireland issue? Do you think it is an issue in negotiations, or do you think it's something that we can get behind and have a Canada-style free trade deal without there being any problem?
It is the big blockage which is preventing progress on the sort of Canada-style free trade agreement that Donald Tusk himself raised just a few months ago. The paper we published today demonstrates that we can use existing technologies, existing administrative techniques, and all of which are consistent with EU law, and still maintain an open and free-flowing border in Northern Ireland. So we can keep the border as open as it is today, whilst respecting the EU's legal system and the integrity of the single market. There is a practical way to do it. It shouldn't be a practical barrier to the negotiations. What we've tried to show today, that actually it's a political barrier, and if there's a political will, it can be solved. It shouldn't block off the possibility of a Canada-style free trade agreement.
What do you mean by political barrier? Are you essentially saying here that the European Union is using this issue as a reason to get more concessions from the UK?
I I think there are genuine concerns felt by the European Union in respect of their legal order and the integrity of the single market and risk of non-compliant goods coming into the single market. So I respect their position. There may be some who are trying to use it for political purposes, but the fact is that there is a legal issue that needs to be resolved if we're going to make this work. The plan we set out today provides a way to resolve those legal questions and to make sure that all the appropriate checks and declarations are made, but without requiring new physical infrastructure at the Northern Ireland border.
So Andrew Jenkins, you have been the hero of Brexit for many people. What do you think about this Northern Ireland issue?
I think that the ERG group has come up with a practical solution. It's using existing measures we use at the moment, so it's going to be very cost effective. It's just a case of ramping it up, and I think the Prime Minister and the EU needs to listen to this.
And obviously you've told Westmonster before that you've handed in your letter of no confidence in Theresa May. Have you still got that letter in there, and do you urge your colleagues to do the same?
My letter's still in there, and as I said back in June, that Prime Ministers keep their jobs when they keep their promises. If our Prime Minister doesn't deliver on what she promised to the British people, then she has to go.
So do you urge your colleagues to do the same?
I'll always urge, because my letter's in there, so of course.